Number one, I think clarity of thought. I think the second part is tenacity in action, and the third part is uncompromising values. Without those three together, in this day and age, you will not be successful as a business leader. What we mean by values here is two things. One is you have to understand where you do stand. How are you going to look after your customers? How are you going to look after your employees? How are you going to prioritize solutions? How are you even going to think through what really is a problem versus not? The second way we use the word values is around economic value. So thinking through, okay, how do I create value for the customer, and how do I capture some of that for myself?
I think the subprime example is a very good one. After the fact, if you look at the subprime disaster, you simply can't say that we shouldn't have known better. A lot of decision makers who were hurt by the subprime problem, who were not acting unethical at all. They simply failed to really realize all of the possible things that could happen. They didn't sort of play out all the issues, they didn't develop all the scenarios, and they didn't take them seriously. The most famous one was Goldman Sachs, and it was the CFO of Goldman Sachs who, on looking at trends that he saw in mortgage-backed securities markets, reduced the company's exposure. But he did that only after calling in his entire team within the organization and debating hard, very hard for an entire afternoon whether or not Goldman should be exposed to these risks. And what they did is they played out a variety of scenarios. He asked people specifically to be devil's advocates, and at the end of the day, they said no. And they walked away from what seemed to be some investments with very good returns, because after they thought about it long and hard, they were uncomfortable with that.
Business is really about performance in the end. And performance is around your judgment. And judgment, in the end, rests on your values. Our society has really embraced diversity. My values are important, your values are important, I respect your values, absolutely. That being said, what Ed and I argue is that if you take that into your business, you're muddle-headed. You actually won't know how to prioritize because, frankly, your values are not as important as those values or any other values. You actually have to decide, okay, here's what we're going to value, here's what we're going to prioritize, and here's what we're going to do.